If you're planning to buy a used iPad, it's a pretty confusing process since there's so many different versions of iPads. So I made this short recommendation video. Let's see. So if you do a search on used iPads, there's all these different versions: iPad 4th generation, iPad 6th generation. Even for the smaller 8-inch iPads, they just have iPad Mini 4 for the last 3 years, and it's $400. So I made this just because there's so many different versions of iPads, and I thought it might be helpful to have a suggestion on which version to at least start off from, because if you purchase a used iPad, it might not receive software upgrades anymore, or it just might just be old hardware. So the ones I recommended have at least 2 gigabytes of RAM and a decent processor and a decent screen. These include the iPad Air 2 or newer. It's old technology, but anything newer than this, like the iPad 5th gen or iPad 6th gen, those are all perfectly fine if you want to buy used. Any iPad Pro used is fine too. It's just more expensive. They have better camera and processors than the typical iPad. And finally, if you're looking for the smaller 8-inch iPad minis, you probably should just get the latest version iPad Mini 4. Any older one, Mini 3 and older, probably has less RAM. It doesn't have at least 2 gigabytes of RAM, so I'm worried about software support. So if you buy it used, try to get it around 150 if it's possible, or 200 for 128 gigabyte. Again, I recommend these versions because they have 2 gigabytes of RAM, have at least 2 years of software support. I mean, even if software support ends after 2 years, most vendors will still create software for the unsupported iOS maybe a year or two afterwards, so you have 3, maybe 4 years of good usage of the iPad, even though it's used. And when you're looking at these used iPads, hopefully they're much cheaper than the newest, latest versions of iPads that are out right now. So one last thing I want to mention is about iPad Pro versus the just regular iPads. Is it worth it to get it? It depends if you need a better camera and better processor. I think most users don't need it, so it's not exactly recommended unless you can get it for an equivalent price. I put it over here if you can find a smoking hot deal on it. Nice thing about the iPad Pro is you can get larger sizes, 10.5 inch, 11 inch, and 12.9 inch. So if that factors into a tablet size, then I guess you'd want to get iPad Pro if you want something with a much larger screen. So that was my last recommendation. So good luck.